Pacific Mornings with Aggie.
That was quite the abrupt ending, wasn't it? Aggie's not here. It's me, producer Levi, this morning. Thank you for joining the show. 8 minutes past 8 o'clock on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Okay, so Savannah Tafau-Levy made her hosting debut on Kava Media's new rugby league show, The Ditch, last week, after spending many years surrounded by the sport. So this morning we have the pleasure of having her on our show to talk more about her show and more. And with that, we say good morning, Savannah, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, everyone. How are we?
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be here today. Usually you'll be having Aggie, but you're sort of stuck with me today. So let's hope this goes smoothly.
Aggie looks great.
But we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Look, I really wanted to get you on the show because I've wanted to get you on the show before. Or even had an interview with you last week because I do realize your space that you're in terms of sport and how much you enjoy sport. So I saw a post on Facebook that made me reach out this time around again that says you've dreamed of a job like this since you were 10 years old. So can you first just tell us a little bit more about the role, and can you just elaborate into what it was as a 10-year-old that you were sort of dreaming of in terms of what you wanted to do when you were older?
Sure. So I am a co-host on the rugby league show The Ditch, which is a co-production between Kava Media and Sky Sport. And it's a show about being champions of the Pacific and Māori players, and making sure that we champion the contribution that they've made to the sport, which is really important because I don't think we've had a show that's Pacific and Māori related, especially in rugby league. So this is the first time that it's ever happened, and our stories are on both sides of the ditch, which is where the name comes from. So we do stories in New Zealand and Australia, and it's a mixture of in-studio chats with with rugby league stars, current and former NRL stars as well. And I think for me, where it all started, when I said I was 10 years old, is when I actually knew that I wanted to be a journalist or wanted to be on TV. I was in primary school at the time, and for kids these days, that, a lot of kids say, I want to be a police officer, I want to do this, I want to be a nurse. And for me, it was, I wanted to be a journalist. When I was 10, I had a school trip to TV3 News, which was at the time, and it's News Hub now. And that was a time when I got to meet Hilary Barry and Mike Roberts, which was real. They were like the anchors back then, like for us as kids, we watched the news with our parents and we always saw Hilary Barry and Mike Roberts. But for me, I was like, could I ever make that? Could I ever be like an anchor of a show? And so from then, I guess I just channeled all my subjects and everything towards journalism. Once I learned what journalism was, and the opportunities that could come through from it, I decided to become a journalist. And it's pretty big for me because I've always enjoyed sports as well. So being able to combine both sports and journalism, doing what I love, is very it means a lot to me.
It's cool because doing sport journalism it's a skill, man. I noticed because I've been to different media events, and I noticed there's a difference with sport, and so that's what prompts me to ask the next question, because I've been around that arena before, and I've seen it's very male dominated. I've been sitting in those rooms after post games or media interviews prior to, and the majority of the people there are men. So I'm wondering if it's quite daunting entering a predominantly male influenced atmosphere. But at the same time, I'm very aware that you love your sport anyways. I'm just wondering if you ever felt a way about jumping into a world that's just full of male energy, really. You know what I mean?
I think for me, because I grew up with a lot of uncles, and I had a lot of male figures. It's normal for us in Pacific Island or Māori culture. We have so many uncles, so many boy cousins, and all we ever know what to do is mock each other.
Makes
and
sense.
so that's pretty much built my thick skin since I was a kid. I've always had those male figures in my life, and so entering these spaces, I've never felt. It's weird now that you've asked the question. I've had to really think about it, but I don't think I've ever felt like daunted to enter those spaces.
Good.
But I think it's because if you learn early that being a Pacific Islander and specifically a woman is an advantage to your career or to the spaces that you're in, it's a powerful tool to have. That's probably what I'd say. But if there was any moments that I did feel daunting, it's when you're in spaces that you feel culturally unaccepted and you feel like you don't belong. Those are the spaces that I felt pretty uncomfortable in. But like I said, if you just continuously remind yourself that you are a powerful tool in that space at the table, then it'll be an advantage to your career.
Yeah, no, I love the thinking around that because, I've been around those areas, and the fact that like you're completely okay with that, I'm like, wow, that's awesome, man. I love the fact that you can just enter those spaces as who you are instead of trying to be something else. You know what I'm trying to say? If you're tuning in, we are speaking with Savannah Tafau-Levy this morning, and I'm wondering where your love for sport comes from anyways, because journalism's a thing, and there's many different types of journalism that you could be into. But what was it about sport that you think always made you want to pursue that field?
So not many people know this, but my background, I started basketball when I was 5.
Oh, man.
I professionally represented Samoa for basketball in the Samoa Women's when I was 18, but I no longer play anymore. Put on a lot of weight.
Same.
Life happens. Sometimes we're not destined to be tall ferns or representative players of countries, but so I guess my sporting mentality started from basketball, and I learned a lot. Met so many people, and especially the competitive mindset is interesting because now it's really driven me into the spaces that I'm in and learning what athletes go through and the amount of training that you have to go through to actually get to somewhere. And then I think in 2014 or 16 I played rugby league, but I pretty much gave up like 2 years ago because I got too many injuries. Too much toll. I was too tolling on the body, and I just made that decision that I would, I guess, be a champion for our sports players instead, which is behind the scenes in sports journalism.
Yeah, no, it's a big job. It's cool. I do know the feeling of that rugby league era because the ankles down here aren't as strong as they used to be at one point.
And the knees.
Oh, don't even get me started. Get that. What's the thing that you're up? The deep heat. You know what I mean? Like get that.
Yeah.
I need that before the game these days. Man, I need that before. Hey, I'm wondering if we can get your thoughts on women's sports and women in sports because so I sort of jumped back in the game last year in terms of media and getting back in. But when I was doing it last, and I think I left in 2018, what I was noticing was I was an advocate for women in sports and then women's sports where I'd love to tell the stories and push for it. But it wasn't as not that it wasn't well known, it's just I didn't see as much interest. And then when I came back last year, I saw a lot of interest. I saw a lot of money. I saw a lot of things getting put into women's game, and I realized there's a whole lot that's happened in the last 5 years or so that I've missed out on because I'm coming back now and seeing all these things. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on women's sports and its growth, and wondering what you think the next few years will look like in the growth of interest when it comes to women in sports.
Personally, I think for myself, like one of the reasons that I gave up basketball was that it was really unaffordable. Back then, it was a lot of money. We spent I always thought about my parents having to fork out so much money to fund my basketball tournaments. Traveling to Australia was like $4,000 almost just for like a 1-week tournament, and it's like I would always think about my parents having to drop me off, pick me up from trainings, take me to games. So I think the money aspect would have been back then, was a big thing because our players weren't getting paid. And I think even now, they're not even getting paid. Some of the basketball girls are getting probably minimal payments from their clubs. But there has been an improvement, which is awesome to see. I'm only speaking from basketball because I've seen it. And like I can't speak on the rugby union space because I haven't been in that space, but the rugby league side as well, I've seen progressive steps towards the NRLW, which has been awesome opportunities for girls and women. And I think the exposure that women are getting these days is just as well as the men. Like the NRLW, the competition is awesome. Like it's so entertaining.
Yeah.
And I just sometimes would always wonder why has it taken us so long to actually realize how important women sport and women in sport are. But I think the major events coming up, like the Rugby Union World Cup and the Rugby League World Cup in England, and the FIFA Women's World Cup next year, will be massive for women and sport, and just getting that exposure. Really, it's all about exposure. Like proof. I don't know why now we have to prove to everyone that we can just do as well as the men.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably what I think. I think lastly, for us to actually grow, if there was something that we need to do, I think it's more the women that need to, go buy tickets, share sport content, read about it, support us behind the scenes. It's you see all the men going to as groups to games, going out on a Friday or Saturday night, but you hardly see women going out to an actual game. Right. So if we want to support each other, I feel like we have to do that ourselves first.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, because I know the growth is always the hardest part, you know what I mean? Like getting to a point where there's a buzz and it becomes almost culture, you know what I mean? Because I know for a lot of us boys, it's like a culture within the boys to go and do that.
Yeah.
It's like creating a culture around there, correct? Is that sort of what you're saying in terms of how the girls can support more?
Yeah. And, on Facebook, when the Warriors lose, if you look at the comments, do we have to talk about the Warriors? Sorry.
Why'd you do this to me? Oh, man.
Nah, it's still our year. It's still our year. But what I was getting at was under the comments.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of men expressing their opinion, which is great because it's engagement and it's exposure. As for the women, if a team loses, there's hardly any engagement or interaction. So I guess with us, we just need to become more opinionated and support women's sport by, sharing our stuff even. And just pushing each other's agendas forward in any of the spaces, if it's sports journalism, governance, actual players, coaches, referees, volunteers. There's so many of us, but we all just hide behind the screen most of the time.
Savannah, it's really good. I actually really like that answer, right? Creating a culture around it so that if you want to be empowered, you start the empowerment first, you start doing that first and then let others follow suit. I love hearing that, Savannah. Before I let you go, Savannah, I want to ask, you're doing something that a lot of people wish they can do, not specifically your role, but I mean in terms of young people who have a dream or had a thought or had a little past thinking of, oh man, one day I want to do this, but you're sort of living that out right now. And I'm wondering if you could give a message out to Pacific people out there that haven't yet experienced that want to experience that. From what I've seen in your background and what I've seen in your work history, I've seen your grind. I saw you go from one thing to the other. I know you worked with the Warriors doing some interning. I know you did Oceania football, all these different things that you've done over the years. And I'm wondering what your advice would be for other people who haven't yet done what you're experiencing now.
I think for me, like if I could actually speak to all our Pacific people and our Māori people, it would actually just be to chip away your dreams, have a vision, and know that keep your eyes on the prize, and that it will happen eventually if you work hard towards it. And for me, I think with this role, I think it meant a lot more because I manifested or envisioned it for so long, and that I channeled everything that I was doing towards this one goal, and for it to finally happen and unfold. I'm a testament of hard work, and it's possible for all our Pacific people. And I think the small piece of advice that I would give would be that comparison is the thief of joy. I've said it so many times to a lot of my friends and my family, but if you compare yourself to other people and their journey, you're going to hurt yourself in the long. You're just going to end up hurting yourself because everyone has different timelines. we're always looking at our friends and being like, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. But I think it's really important that you just stick to your own lane, work really hard, and you will reap the rewards.
Awesome. Look at that, Savannah, eh? Well, TED Talks right now. I thought we were just doing an interview. We got the whole, I love her. I love her, Savannah. Awesome. Good advice. Congratulations for your role. I look forward to seeing you on Sky Sport. Is there like a little plug you can make right there? Do you have any times or the sort of slot that's available?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to follow our journey, we are running for 12 weeks. Our Instagram is the Ditch League Show. We're on Sky Sport 1 at 8 o'clock p.m. on Wednesdays and Prime TV on 7. So all good if you don't have Sky.
Yeah, just go on demand as well. Easy. Hey, thank you for your time this morning, Savannah. It's a pleasure having you on the show, and we really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much, Levi.
All good. Hey, look, we're going to get back